What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs waiving Nick Ritchie and what could be next for them after making this move. There are some long-term cap implications. There's some short-term cap implications. There's a couple different scenarios, so we'll go through all of that. I had a different video planned for today, but of course, this is the news, so at least that means I'll have another video ready for you guys within the next few days. But I've got to make some changes to the content now. So if you are new here and you love Toronto Maple Leafs news and rumors, especially trade talk and rumors, you guys know I love that stuff. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. Join the squad. But let's get right into this. So it kind of came out of nowhere. Now, I knew a move was going to be made. We've been talking about this for a little while on the channel. I think everybody in Leafs Nation that follows this stuff kind of figured there was going to be a move coming, whether it was going to be Pierre Engvall, Nick Ritchie, or maybe sending down a couple players like Biega and trying to trade out a contract like Dermott or something like that. There was going to have to be some roster moves and some changes made in order for the Leafs to become cap compliant, because they were only using emergency call-ups and the protocol list and the taxi squad and stuff like that to stay cap compliant until they were fully healthy, and now they're fully healthy, and now they needed to make a move. So all that mumble jumble is to tell you that the Leafs had to waive Nick Ritchie because of, I guess they like the way Engvall plays. They like the way that he fits on the team. I do think he has been playing a little better than Ritchie because he's kind of been lost. Mikheyev coming back, he's looked really good. A couple goals in a couple games here. I think 2 power play goals. They forced the hand of Dubas and Keefe to make an uncomfortable move, because Nick Ritchie coming into this season looked like a pretty good bargain for the Toronto Maple Leafs to make. Now, before we get any further into that, and please stick around because I've got lots of content in this video that you guys are really going to like, because it does deal with a little bit of rumor and trade talk stuff. This first piece here comes from Earl Schwartz. Now, as you can see, this tweet was from January 1st, so it's been a few days, and this was before, obviously, Nick Ritchie being waived. So the way that he was looking at this, and what you're looking at right now, is if the Toronto Maple Leafs traded Ritchie, which they didn't trade him, they waived him, but let's say they did, they would have had $1.7 million in cap space. Now, if they could keep that roster until the trade deadline, Toronto would have $5 million to spend at the deadline. Now, this next chart here, it might confuse some people, but just looking at it, I'll just tell you guys in the simplest amount of terms that I can, because I know some people don't like charts and advanced statistics and stuff like that. The simplest way I can put that chart and that whole situation to you guys is that the NHL trade deadline works a little bit differently when it comes to the cap a little bit. You can accrue cap space and build that cap space up using it has to do with your LTIR and other stuff like that. But the best way I could put it to you guys is the Leafs were just going to try to save as much cap as possible to get to the deadline to be able to make a splash, kind of like they did last year, where they were able to bring in a few guys, get salary retained, so that way they could get these guys under the cap, this, that, and the other. All this means, this tweet and this chart means, is that the Leafs moving on from Nick Ritchie and his $2.5 million, which we'll see if that's going to happen. But if they move on from that $2.5 million, they have the potential to not only have that $1.7 million in cap space, but also the ability to save this cap space towards the NHL trade deadline in order to use that space to go after a guy that can, or two, that can help this team get to the next level. Because I mean, like I've said before, it's all or nothing. They need to do it now. But now that Nick Ritchie's on waivers, if he clears, only $1.1 million of his $2.5 million would be, gone. Basically, it'd be buried in the minors. So there'd still be a cap hit of dead money over $1 million that the Leafs would be stuck with on the roster, which obviously is unfortunate. But if somebody takes Nick Ritchie, if somebody claims him on waivers, then that $2.5 million is completely gone from their cap space, and they save $1.7 million like I was showing you guys. And it would turn into something kind of like this. So you'll see here I have Nick Ritchie on LTIR because that just clears the money. So just don't ignore this. Just pretend this says claimed on waivers. So if he gets claimed on waivers, that would be the space that the Leafs have. This would be the roster they'd be going with. They'd have an extra defenseman. And obviously that's a good thing because you want to be able to hold on to as many guys as possible. And towards the deadline, they would be able to build this space up like I showed you in the chart here. They'll be able to, accrue some cap space here, try to, save some money and build some money towards possibly adding to this forward group or to this blue line, maybe one for each, depending on who they can acquire. Now, I'm going to show you guys some things from here and talk a little bit, but Nick Ritchie, to me, is not a failure, but it's an unfortunate series of events because there's going to be some people saying I told you so, and there might be some people that were right, saying that Nick Ritchie wouldn't do that well. But going into the season, I was actually like, okay, this seems like a good fit. Leaf fans have been asking for a big guy who can fight, who can hit, and seems to score some goals here and there, be a little bit more physical to play in that top six, or at least contribute to the third, or, worst case scenario, contributes on the fourth line. But Nick Ritchie doesn't look like he fits anywhere in this lineup. The toughness factor, the Leafs already have that with Wayne Simmons, and if they feel like they need to add more to that, they could call up Kyle Clifford, and they're fine. You know what I mean? If they feel like if they need that little bit of extra boost of toughness, they have a couple guys that can do it. Muzzin's not afraid to get a little bit feisty here and there. There's some guys that will throw a face wash here and there, like a guy like Mikheyev. He doesn't really get into some nonsense like that, but he'll give a quick face wash. Whatever. The Leafs don't value what he brings anymore, which is a terrible thing to say, but they don't see value in his contract anymore. I do not blame Dubas for handing out this deal. The only problem with a team acquiring him, like let's say nobody wants him on waivers, and maybe a team wants to trade for him now that he's cleared waivers for like a 6th or a 7th round pick. The problem is that his salary that the team is paying this year is 1.7, but that bumps up to $3.3 million. And I'm not talking cap hit. I'm talking real money that's paid out to him. So $1.7 million is what's being paid to him this year. The contract is backloaded to give him $3.3 million in this second season of his contract. So it still counts as 2.5 on the cap, but that's what a team would be paying him this year. This is what a team would be paying him next year. So it might be a little bit tough, but again, I'm going to say it. I do not think that this was a bad bargain for the Leafs to take. 26 points in 56 games last year wasn't exactly all that the Leafs were looking at. That 15 goals would have been nice, and the Leafs figured, hey, if he plays with talented guys on this team also, he could easily score 10 to 15 goals and add the physical and toughness element that the Leafs could use up front, especially in the top six and possibly, a third or fourth line role with a little bit more distinction than just a third or fourth line role. He's had some decent years. He's put up a respectable number of points, but it's just not working with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we'll have to see if somebody claims him. By the time you're watching this, maybe he's been traded or claimed or whatever. Best case scenario, and I know this is terrible to say, somebody claims him and the Leafs get that $1.7 million in cap space. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. If you are new here, make sure to like this video and subscribe. A video on potential trade candidates for the Toronto Maple Leafs is coming up within the next couple days. I got to remake some of the parts of the video because now this changes some things, especially if something happens tomorrow. So we'll have to check. But yeah, I love and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and leave your thoughts down below. Peace.